My friends and I have been telling each other in a tongue-in-cheek way, don't we live in interesting times? And talking about how we're going to tell my niece and my nephew, my brother's grandkids, all about this once they're a little bit older and they can remember more of it. But honestly, living in interesting times is kind of a drag. It's kind of exhausting. In April of 2020, I was going to be going to Italy for the first time. I was working on getting all of the travel documents put together, and then we had a little thing called the coronavirus pandemic hit. Not only did it hit, but the places I was wanting to go to became international epicenters. So I canceled my trip, and it's probably for the best. I'm still here after all. The coronavirus has been a scary thing, but one thing I'm hoping that it's taught a lot of us is to not take things for granted. And when you've got an opportunity to take care of that and go do the thing. So I was kind of disappointed, but lo and behold, 18 months later, things were starting to ease up a little bit. We were coming out of our houses a bit more. And kid you not, my friends out on the East Coast started telling me about what was going on in Manhattan. Somehow the Met had arranged an entire exhibition about the Medici, and they were bringing the Pisa dress over. The dress. They were bringing one of the few examples of the petticoats and supportive garments that we were wearing in the mid-16th century in Italy. I can't tell you how excited I was. The entire group chats that I was in were electrified with excitement that this was going to be on our side of the Atlantic. So we started making plans. Started booking hotels, figuring out flights, finding dog sitters for cute little pit bulls, and everybody started trying to make their way. Some of us went in large groups, some of us went in small groups. For me, not only was this just I want to stand and stare at this amazing dress forever, but it's also some research. I've been reading about the dress for about 10 years, and I've always had some questions about what do you mean by all of these flips and folds in the hemline, and I wanted to get some answers. Being a visual learner, which is why I have a YouTube channel, seeing it in person was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. So I packed my bags, hopped on a plane, and joined my friends in New York. This is going to be the story of going around, seeing this dress, and a little bit of the background on it. I hope that you want to join me for that little bit of our trip. So most of this exhibit is going to be about Cosimo as the Duke and how the Medici were using art, power, and money to solidify the newly formed dukedom of Florence. Florence at one point in time had been a republic, and the claim to those higher titles was a little bit tenuous. Eleanor's marriage to Cosimo was trying to give them a little bit more street cred. And I really enjoy studying her dresses and her fashion. When you see her dress and the way she dresses, it starts to kind of become the iconic looks that I go for when I'm looking at 16th century costuming. The Pisa dress that they've brought over is believed to have belonged to Eleanor herself. I'm not gonna lie, I spent a lot of time sitting on the floor in front of this case, and all I can say is I am incredibly grateful for all the people who did not step on me while I sat around staring at minute details about the hem and trying to figure out the embroidery patterns on this. Sitting there with a little sketchbook because sometimes the glint off of my camera wasn't exactly getting what I wanted it to. And I wanted to see if I could maybe contemplate someday trying to reproduce this goldwork embroidery. It looks like it's been done on a satin, and you can see where some of the satin threads have the floating threads worn away, and the ground underneath is starting to come through, as well as this little facing binding around the edge that's been pinked. Pinking is a technique where you just make little cuts into the silk. I mean, you could argue it shattered, but as you saw in some of the portraits, and you'll probably see in a dress that I'm making soon, all you have to do is make a little binding and then cut those edges. So this dress was probably never worn outside. I can't imagine walking around with a paint edging like that, can you? Tell me in the comments below. The amazing thing about how they displayed this dress was you could walk completely around the glass case. You can see the seams from the silk velvet and where the skirt was pieced together, and how they worked with that tuck to try and make the hem work, and how it goes up into the bodice. I'd want to do some more research, and some friends forwarded some documents I'm going to try and translate about the restoration work that they've done on this dress out in Pisa, just to see exactly what on here is original versus what might be restoration, to try and keep it in the amazing freaking condition it's in now. So one of the amazing things that I was staring at when I was looking at these sleeves was noticing that the sleeves don't seem to have any stitching around those cuts to keep them in place. It's a technique called slashing or cut work. There's a couple different names for it. And there's two primary ways I've tried it in the past, where you're either using little chisels and a hammer to cut those in, or you're using a razor blade or an X-Acto knife, something like that, and cutting them in. I'd be interested to try it on velvet. I've never actually thought to do it. That might be because our modern fabrics are usually a little bit looser woven when it comes to velvets. Normally, I do it on a silk taffeta or a silk shantung, but it has worked out pretty well on sleeves I've tried that technique on in the past. So, other than the Pisa dress, there was a lot of other amazing things to go see in the Met. A lot of them from the time period I enjoy to study, and it kind of gives you a much better rounded look at the entire time period. So, I would advise never just go for one specific thing, but see what all they have to offer in all the different portions. I mean, that's part of the fun of studying the history, right? You not only look at the pretty dresses, but you're going to take a look at the historical context. How did they live? That sort of thing. I would have been happy going to New York just to see that dress. The fact that I got to go and see so many other parts of the city and have those other experiences too is just icing on the cake. I really hope I'm not the only one this year that has learned to not put things off. I hope everyone else has also learned to be a little bit daring and take that step to go find the next thing that you really want to do. Whether it's trying a new project or flying to a city that you've never been to with one of your best friends. Tell me about what you want to do. What's a big bucket list project or trip that you're planning on doing as soon as you've got the courage to go and do it? Now that I'm home, it's time to start getting to work. I got to go see the dress. I had a lot of my questions answered by it. But now it's time to put that research into practical use. I'm going to be working on a new 16th century Florentine outfit here over the next few months, and I want to take you along with me. But that's going to involve some more in-depth research than I've done previously, and a lot of tea drinking, and a couple of afternoons and evenings spent with the awesome catalog that I picked up from the exhibit. If you've enjoyed this video, please do go ahead and click that like button. I hope it gets out to more folks and gives you a little boost this week. In the meantime, keep researching, keep sewing, and be kind to each other out there. The world's crazy enough as it is.